shall cause darkness seek to reach all the corners of the earth.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of RoundUp, where we show you the latest stories, segments and updates from all around the world.
We are thrilled to have you with us today. We've got another exciting lineup just waiting to be shared.
Our teams have been hard at work to deliver meaningful and impactful stories from across the globe. Here's a look at what's coming up in today's episode.
We start in the UK with a report on the effects of social media on mental health. Then, we explore the causes of flooding and share tips on staying safe. And finally, we head to Germany for an insight on their annual open mosque event promoting community understanding and dialogue.
Now, let's kick things off by checking out this week's headlines. Joseph is ready to fill us in on the latest news and trending stories. Assalamu alaikum, Joseph. How are you doing today?
Welcome, Samghani Bhai. Alhamdulillah, I'm doing well. Let's dive into this week's top stories. A historic handover happened at the White House. President Joe Biden welcomed Donald Trump, who recently won the presidential elections and will soon be sworn in for a second term on January 20th. The two leaders met to discuss a smooth transition, something crucial as Trump's team prepares to take over. Though they had strong disagreements during the election, both are friendly today, with Trump thanking Biden for a smooth handover. This tradition is all about unity, and although First Ladies Melania Trump and Jill Biden didn't meet, both sides are focused on a peaceful start to the new term. At COP29, the UN Climate Conference in Azerbaijan, leaders are debating fossil fuels and climate action. Azerbaijan's president called oil and gas a gift of God and defended the country's energy production, while UN Chief Antonio Guterres argued that expanding fossil fuels is absurd and urged leaders to move towards clean energy. The UK's Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer set a big goal to cut emissions by 81% by 2035 and challenged other countries to follow. Developing nations are asking for more financial help from wealthy countries to cope with climate impacts. Talks will continue until November 22nd. A massive smog cloud over South Asia is now so huge it is visible from space. Lahore, Pakistan's second largest city, has become one of the world's most polluted places, with air quality levels that are dangerous to health. With smog at crisis levels, schools are shut until at least November 17th, and people are being asked to stay indoors. Much of the pollution comes from vehicle exhausts, local factories, and fires from farmers burning crops. People are struggling to breathe, and the smog even seeps inside homes, making life tough for millions. Those were the headlines for this week. Back to you, Ghani and Nasser Bhai.
Jazakallah, Joseph, for this week's headlines and keeping us up to date as usual.
Absolutely, Ghani. And speaking of important topics, let's turn to our first segment, which takes a closer look at social media's impact on mental health, something that affects so many people in today's world.
Yeah, social media is everywhere, and while it has many benefits, it also brings challenges. Let's hear from our team about how it can impact mental health and well-being.
Social media is everywhere. It's a place to connect, laugh, and stay up to date. But have you ever thought about how it affects your mood? Sometimes, seeing everyone's perfect posts can make us feel left out or like we don't measure up. Research shows that this can lead to anxiety and stress because we are constantly comparing our everyday life to someone else's highlight reel. Islam tells us that we are all equal in the eyes of Allah and that you should focus more on those less fortunate around you and give them a helping hand. It's common for us to focus on how many likes we get, but guess what? Studies say that tying your self-worth to likes and followers can actually lower self-esteem, making us feel like we're only as good as our social media popularity. True self-worth is based on Allah's words and our connection to Him. And let's talk about late-night scrolling. Many of us stay up checking notifications, but staring at screens before bed actually disrupts sleep. This happens because the blue light on our phones makes our brain think it's day. When we lose sleep, it's harder to focus, and our mood can drop too. In Islam, sleep is considered a sign of Allah's greatness. But don't worry, there are ways to use social media in a healthier way. Try setting up screen time limits or taking breaks throughout the day, a digital detox. Even if it's just a few hours a day, it can really boost your mood. Social media is great for connection, but real-life interactions are powerful too. Spending time with family and friends can help lower stress and remind us of our true worth beyond the screen, increasing mental health. On several occasions, beloved Hazur, may Allah be his helper, has warned us of the negative uses of social media and how it can be used in a positive way.
ये जो सोशल मीडिया पे जो बातें आती हैं नेगेटिव भी पॉजिटिव भी, जो नेगेटिव बातें अगर तुम्हें पता है कि क्या है तो उनको अवॉइड करो, उनके करीब ना जाओ, उनको ना देखो। ये तो टेम्पटेशन है ना, टेम्पटेशन हो जाती है। एक आदमी एक दफ़ा खोलता है एक मीडिया पे एक लिंक, उसमें देख लेता है, उस पर इंटरेस्ट पैदा होता है, क्योंकि देखता ही नहीं कि इसके बुरे असरात क्या हो रहे हैं। फिर अगला, फिर दूसरा, फिर तीसरी प्रोग्राम देखना शुरू कर देता है उस पर, उससे गलत होता है। तो पहली दफ़ा अगर तुम देखो कि सोशल मीडिया में कोई ऐसी चीज़ आई है जो नेगेटिव असर डाल सकती है तुम्हारे पे, तो तुम फौरी तौर पे उसको बंद कर दो और उस सोशल मीडिया की और साइट्स जो अच्छी अच्छी हैं उनको देख के, जहाँ नॉलेज भी है, इल्म भी आ रहा है, या एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम है, या दूसरे साइंस के प्रोग्राम है, डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज़ हैं, या उसके ऊपर कुछ कमेंट्स हैं, या और पढ़े लिखे साइंसदानों के कमेंट्स हैं, या जमात के सोशल मीडिया है, उन पे चली जाओ और उनको देखो, बजाय इसके कि नेगेटिव असर डालने वाली सोशल मीडिया को देखो। तो ये तो खुद अपनी विल पावर और डिटर्मिनेशन और है कि कितना तुम अपने आप को बचाना चाहती हो।
Social media can be fun and positive when we use it mindfully. So take a break, stay grounded, and remember, you are amazing, with or without likes.
Jazakallah, that was a fascinating report. Social media can be powerful, but it's important to maintain a healthy relationship with it.
That's right. Now, let's shift gears and focus on this week's Friday sermon. Raheel and Ushman are ready to guide us through some of the key points and takeaways.
Let's hear from them now and reflect on the important lessons from this week's sermon.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this week's Friday sermon discussion. Today we're diving into an epic chapter of Islam history, one that teaches us patience, wisdom and trust in Allah. It's all about the Treaty of Hudaybiyah.
This was no ordinary event. It took place in the year 628 AD or 6 AH, when the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and his companions set out on a journey to perform Umrah.
They weren't armed for battle, they only carried sheathed swords, which was more like carrying a travel tool back then. Why? Because their intention was peace, not confrontation.
Before we go any further, here's something interesting. An entire chapter of the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Fath, was revealed about this event. It starts with this verse: "Verily we have granted thee a clear victory."
A victory, Ushman? Wait, wasn't there a lot of tension, blockades by the Quraysh, and even rerouted paths? How's that a victory?
Great question. The victory wasn't about conquering land, but about the long-term success it brought. For one, it showed the world, the Muslims' commitment to peace. Plus, this event paved the way for greater victories in spreading Islam later.
Speaking of challenges, did you know the Holy Prophet ﷺ's camel stopped at one point? The companions tried to make it move, but it wouldn't budge.
The Holy Prophet ﷺ explained that the camel stopped because Allah willed it. He then said something profound. He'd agree to any demand from the Quraysh as long as it didn't dishonor Allah.
And let's not forget the miracles along the way. Remember the water vessel?
Oh yes, the companions ran out of water and the Holy Prophet ﷺ placed his blessed hand in the vessel. Suddenly water flowed like a stream, enough for everyone to drink and do ablution.
Miracles aside, this journey also taught unity and reliance on Allah. When it rained during the night, the Prophet ﷺ reminded everyone it's Allah who sends rain, not the stars or anything else.
What's a beautiful lesson in the unity of God, recognizing Allah as the ultimate source of all blessings.
So what's the key takeaway here today?
I'd say 3 big lessons. 1. Patience and diplomacy can lead to long-term success. 2. Always trust in Allah, even in challenging times. 3. Unity and peace are key principles in Islam.
Well said, Arshman. That's all for today, dear brothers and sisters.
Stay tuned for the next Friday sermon discussion. Until next time,
Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah Rahil and Ishman for those thoughtful reflections. It's always beneficial to take lessons from the Friday sermon.
Definitely. And if you missed a full sermon, don't forget to catch up on MTA. It's always worthwhile to listen to the full sermon.
Up next, we take a look at an issue that has been making headlines around the world: flooding.
Flooding has caused widespread disruption in many regions. Our teams takes us through the causes, the impacts, and the efforts to address this challenge. Let's find out more.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another segment of In Focus. Today, we'll dive deep into a world of floods, a crucial environmental issue. In 2022, nearly 55 million people worldwide were affected by devastating floods, resulting in injuries, death, and loss of homes.
With the effect of climate change set to increase global flooding, this number is only expected to increase.
So, what causes flooding and what are the key safety measures that we can take to minimize their impact on our homes and potentially save our lives? To understand how they happen, picture rivers and oceans as enormous sponges, only capable of absorbing a limited volume of water before they start leaking.
When they reach this limit, they overflow, unleashing the vast amount of water remaining.
One primary cause is heavy rainfall, especially when it encounters impermeable surfaces like concrete.
Water flows slowly on such surfaces and is often soaked up by mud and tree roots. Additionally, rising sea levels due to climate change play a significant role, causing more frequent and severe floods worldwide.
There are 3 main types of floods that you should be able to recognize. River floods that occur after prolonged moderate rainfall, causing rivers to swell up and overflow.
Coastal floods, caused by high tides, heavy rain and strong winds combining to push water ashore. And the most dangerous type, flash floods. They strike suddenly, often within 6 hours or less, triggered by extremely heavy rainfall.
But did you know that using more sustainable urban planning, like green spaces and permeable surfaces, can reduce flood risk too?
We can build levees and dams, use early warning systems and plant trees as they create natural barriers.
If you live near a large area of water, it's good to be prepared.
Piling up sandbags around the outside of your home can help restrict the water.
If you have a basement, paint it with a waterproof coating, as water will get there first. And keep all valuables on an upper floor.
If there's a warning of a flood, remember to turn off all electrical appliances in your home to avoid electrical fires or electrocution. Remember to store lots of bottled water, non-perishable food such as canned food.
You must always have the following: a flashlight, first aid kit, and bug spray, as bugs breed rapidly in water.
Don't try to drive in a flood as your car may get swept away. Finally, if you do find yourself in a flood, try to move to climb on anything floating on water and use that to help yourself.
In an aftermath of a flood, there's a lot to do. Once you ensure home is safe, disinfect thoroughly. Wear gloves and masks while handling flood-damaged items to avoid contaminants or mold.
Remember to dispose of items which cannot be cleaned, such as heavily damaged furniture.
Make sure to dry your homes with fans and proper ventilation.
Floods are a natural force, but knowledge of how they are caused and how to deal with them is our best defense.
It's always heartbreaking to see the devastation flooding can cause, but inspiring to witness the resilience of communities.
Rani, I completely agree. These stories remind us how important it is to support those in need.
Now, let's head over to Germany, where a local mosque recently opened its doors to the public. This event provided a wonderful opportunity for people to learn about Islam and connect with the Muslim community.
Yes, these open days are a great way to foster understanding and build connections. Let's see how the event went.
Der 3. Oktober, ein sehr bedeutsamer Tag für Deutschland. Zum einen ist heute Tag der offenen Moschee und zum anderen Tag der deutschen Einheit. Ich bin heute in der Beit-un-Nisse-Moschee in Köln, um einige Einblicke über den Tag zu erhalten. Die Beit-un-Nisse-Moschee wurde im Jahr 1985 durch den 4. Kalifen eingeweiht und im Jahr 2011 in das 100-Moscheen-Projekt aufgenommen. Und es ist ein zentrales Gebetshaus für die Gemeinde in Köln und Umgebung. Heute habt ihr die Möglichkeit, die Moschee von innen zu besichtigen und an Führungen teilzunehmen, bei denen ihr mehr über die Geschichte und die Bedeutung dieses Ortes erfahrt. Der Gebetsraum, das Herzstück der Moschee, ist ein Ort der Ruhe, wo Muslime täglich zusammenkommen, um ihr Gebet zu verrichten und ihre Bindung zu Allah zu stärken. Neben der Besichtigung könnt ihr auch mit Gemeindemitgliedern ins Gespräch kommen, um mehr über die religiösen Praktiken im Islam zu erfahren. Ebenfalls werden weitere Aktivitäten angeboten, wie zum Beispiel die Kalligrafie. Hier könnt ihr euren Namen auf Arabisch schreiben lassen. Für uns Ahmedis ist dieser Tag eine wichtige Möglichkeit, den Dialog zu fördern und unsere Botschaft des Friedens und der Toleranz zu verbreiten. Wir hoffen, euch hat dieser Einblick in die Beit-un-Nisse-Moschee gefallen. Viel Spaß und bis zum nächsten Mal bei RoundUp. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
What a fantastic event. It's heartwarming to see people coming together to learn from one another and break down barriers.
Absolutely, Gunny. Events like these play such a vital role in promoting peace and unity within society.
Unfortunately though, that brings us to the end of this episode. We hope you enjoyed the stories and segments as much as we enjoyed bringing them to you.
We look forward to having you join us again next week for even more news, inspiring stories and updates from around the world.
In the meantime, don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms for all the latest updates and behind the scenes moments. Well, until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Diagnostic to reach all the corners of the earth. Oh, I shall call. Oh, I shall call. I shall call. Oh, I shall call. I shall call. Diagnostic to reach all the corners of the earth. Oh, I shall call. Oh, I shall call. I shall call. Oh, I shall call. I shall call. Diagnostic to reach all the corners of the earth.